Radha Bhagini, you are self-muted.
Yeah,
Hari Om.
Bhagini. Start Hari Om.
You can chant. Go ahead.
Yeah. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitaamritavarshiniim Bhagavatim Ashtadashaധ്യായിनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्ससुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरणनदी कैवर्तकः केशवः पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटम् नानाख्यानगकेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितम् लोके सज्जन षट्पदैरहरः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयाद् भारत पंकजं कलिमल प्रध्वंसिनः श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुः सुरासुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः
धन्यवादः भगिनी.
धन्यवाद
Gayatri Bhagini, do you want to say something because I see your hand raised? Okay, maybe that was a mistake. Okay. सदाशिवसमारम्भाम् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ There's a small correction on this slide, please note. After discussion with some experts, Vyakarana experts and also Shiksha experts, because of the Chandas, we've confirmed that it has to be Paramartha Nandayatim and not Paramartha Nandayatim. Param Varishtham Brahmishtam Paramananda Rupinam Paramarthanandayatim Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. So, Lord Krishna was presenting bhakti as a means of liberation, and then he introduced 3 levels of bhakti, and only when a person goes through all the 3 levels, the goal of liberation can be attained, he said. So what were the 3 levels? The 3 levels were Karma Yoga for purifying the mind, Upasana Yoga for expanding and quietening the mind, and finally Jnana Yoga for going through a spiritual education program, through which alone a person will get complete knowledge of Ishvara. By complete knowledge, what we mean is Apara and Paraprakriti, both, that is Saguna and Nirguna Swarupam. Thus, whenever we use bhakti as a means of liberation, we must remember that all 3 are included and it will end in knowledge and moksha. So, after talking about that, now from verse 20 onwards until 29, right? Lord Krishna divides the bhakti broadly into 2 types, right? Based on motive behind the expression of bhakti, right? Whether bhakti is in the form of karma yoga or upasana yoga, it can be for 2 types of purposes. Very, very important aspects brought out here, right? And which is purely dependent on or determined by our sankalpa, right? So one is the material benefit, which will come under the name, fame, money, possession, heaven. It can be Swargaloka, Punyam, right? But everything that is exhaustible or perishable is one type of goal. So we call this the materialistic or Anitya Gatihi. Anitya Gatihi is subject to exhaustion. Second one is for the spiritual goal or Nitya Gatihi, to use the Upanishadic expression for the sake of whether it is Preyaha or Shreyaha, right? So when we use bhakti for worldly purposes, it is called Sakama Bhakti, and when we use it for spiritual purpose, it is called Nishkama Bhakti. Now, Lord Krishna is making a comparative study between Sakama and Nishkama Bhakti, through which he wants to establish that Nishkama Bhakti is superior, right? This point is very, very important, especially I feel for Grihasthas, because one question that I myself constantly face from students, right, is we make it appear that, Gita says that Krishna stands for simple pujas, etc. But why is it that on the home front, we have so much of achara, rituals, rigidity around the rituals, discipline around the rituals, etc. Why is that contradiction there, right? Many students come up to me and ask this, and I respond to them based on what stage of Gita teaching we are in. Now that we are in the 9th chapter, I'm sure you would be able to appreciate certain more aspects that I would have normally not been able to explain to you. So the general beginner's explanation that I would rather give to Grihasthas is that, look, in Karma Kanda, you are bound by a lot of rigidity and discipline because it is governed by a lot of processes or standard operating procedures. You have to follow them as dictated by the Karma Kanda, because it says that if you do all this, you will get ABC. So if you want ABC, you have to follow the processes. Otherwise, it will not lead you to that goal, right? So this is how I explain to a beginner when this question comes up, right? So now we will see what Krishna is talking about, right? So Krishna is actually conducting a bhakti awareness program, I should say, right? So there are 4 differences. In fact, we saw this in the last class. First difference is Sakama Bhakti is deity specific, whereas Nishkama Bhakti is not deity specific. So for a Sakama Bhakti, a particular deity, right? And a particular place, a particular time, right? Whereas for spiritual growth, that specification is not there. This is the first difference. The second difference is Sakama Bhakti is ritual specific, whereas Nishkama Bhakti is not so. When we practice puja for a particular benefit, there are so many rules and regulations, achara, anushtana, and therefore it will be beneficial only when we follow the achara, anushthanam, and the priest also has to follow all those rules and regulations. Therefore, it is ritual specific, whereas Nishkama Bhakti is not so. Whether it is Pitru Karma or it is Deva Yajna, we cannot question the rules and regulations. If it says you have to, wash the clothes in water, dry it yourself, and you have to take that and wear it and do certain things, the dress has to be worn in a certain way, the priest has to wear the dhoti in a certain way, and he has to sit facing this direction. All those specifications have to be followed because Sakama Bhakti is ritual specific, right? So the third difference is Sakama Bhakti is unpredictable. Any violation of any rule in any of these rituals can lead to an unpredictable result, which may be favorable, it may be neutral, or sometimes it can be counterproductive, negative result also. Thus, Sakama Bhakti is unpredictable. It may or may not succeed. That's why many people complain, right? I did so many things, I did so many yajnas, yagas, but no benefit, etc. Whereas Nishkama Bhakti is always with predictable results. Its predictable result is always positive. What are they? The purification of the mind. Therefore, what happens? It is available for grasping the teaching. First, it will help you purify the mind. Then it will make sure that a guru or a spiritual guide is available for you to guide you on the right path. Then there is a capacity to grasp the teaching, right, which is still more difficult, and later to retain the teaching, to assimilate the teaching. So these are the direct results of Nishkama Bhakti, right? And the fourth difference is the greatest benefit of Sakama Bhakti is Brahma Loka Prapti, which is the highest possible in Sakama Bhakti, right? So, highest possible goal that you can achieve through Sakama Bhakti is, other than, of course, your materialistic goals, which may be, wealth, health, all of that, Sargaloka, Brahmaloka. Brahmaloka we saw in detail in Kramamukti also, right? So, that is the maximum that you can attain, right? Lord Krishna says that result will also end one day, right? So, Brahma Bhuvanat Lokaha Punaravartinaha. That means it will keep you there, but you will have to come back at some point in time. So, Sakama Bhakti also perpetuates samsara. It can never lead to liberation. Whereas, Nishkama Bhakti will always be successful and it will lead to liberation in due course, whether it is this Janma or the next Janma. Therefore, when you compare all these 4 factors, an intelligent person must choose Nishkama Bhakti. This is Bhagavan's expectation, right? And after listening to this, he wants more and more people voting for Nishkama Bhakti. Not that Sakama Bhakti can become zero in the minute you listen to Gita class. It won't happen, right? Gradually it has to come down. Then you have to use it only for emergency cases. Gradually convert all types of puja, namaskara, etc. for what? Jnana Vairagya Siddhyartham Viksham Dehime. Right? So Lord Krishna is emphasizing these 4 factors in different shlokas. So in verse 20, 21, he talked about the 4th difference, right? That is Sakama Bhakti gives finite results. right? And he may go to higher lokas, but he will have to return. Then from 22nd verse onwards, he is talking about the glory of Nishkama Bhakti. So in the 22nd shloka, we saw Ananya Shintayanto Mam Yejana Paryutasate Tesham Nithyabhiyuktanam Yogakshemam Vahamyaham. Right? So he's speaking about the benefit of Nishkama Bhakti, a very often quoted shloka. The message here is, if a person practices Nishkama Bhakti, right? That is whatever be the puja, japa, etc. Right? And we say, Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, sarve santu niramayaha, right? Or swasti prajabhya, etc. Then that is Nishkama Bhakti, and Lord Krishna says that this Nishkama Bhakti will lead to spiritual growth, culminating finally in moksha, right? But he says Nishkama Puja has a byproduct benefit also. Right? Just as you know, in many manufacturing processes, you have byproducts, right? So similarly, here also we have byproducts, right? It is not a problem. He says, Nishkama Bhakti spiritual benefit is the primary product, and as a byproduct, the Nishkama Bhakta will get material benefit also. Even if I don't pray for money, health, etc., without praying, the basic needs of life will get provided. Now, we're not talking about luxury, but whatever we need for a basic life, right, that we will definitely be provided as a byproduct of Nishkama Bhakti. Why? Because it will help us focus on the subject matter itself later on, right? So, we completed verse 22 in the last class. So, we will start with verse 23. एप्यं यदेवता भक्ताः एप्यं यदेवता भक्ताः यजन्ते श्रद्धयान्विताः यजन्ते श्रद्धयान्विताः तेऽपि मामेव कौन्तेय तेऽपि मामेव कौन्तेय यजन्त्यविधिपूर्वकम् यजन्त्यविधिपूर्वकम्. So here Lord Krishna talks about Sakama Bhakti and what happens to people who follow Sakama Bhakti. When a Sakama Bhakta worships the Lord depending upon his desire, the puja has to be directed towards a particular deity, right? We said it will be deity specific. So when he wants lot of money, which devata will he worship? Lakshmi, right? So even in large offices, if you see, you will see Lakshmi with a pot of gold and gold coins falling down. Now they don't put Saraswati there, right? Because they are interested in money. Therefore, the deity corresponding is Lakshmi Devi. If a person has an eye problem, what is the corresponding devata? Surya Devata, right? When water scarcity is there, what japam do they do? Varuna japam they do, right? When they are facing many obstacles, right? Which devata they worship? Vigneshwara. Thus, there are so many deities worshipped by Sakama Bhakta. So, naturally the question will come, are there many gods? Because different gods are worshipped. This is again another very, very important discussion that's happening, because it is very useful for you to discuss this subject with non-Hindus and even some Hindus in a proper and shastric way, right? This is what Krishna talks about. So Lord Krishna says, there are not many gods. There is infinite Ishvara, and each devata is a finite expression of that infinite Lord only. All the devatas are included in one infinite Ishvara. So in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna represents the infinite Ishvara. All other devatas represent what? Finite expressions of that infinite. So it is like, say, one prime minister in the country. He cannot handle all the departments, right? So he has several cabinet ministers. He selects a minister for, say, various, ministries like defense, finance, etc., and distributes it, right? So the power center is definitely the Prime Minister. The total power, right, is with the Prime Minister. The finite power, each department draws from the total power called the Prime Minister, right? Therefore, they are all called Devata. So the word Devata means a finite expression. So Ishvara means the infinite one, right? So therefore Lord Krishna says, even when the Sakama Bhaktas are worshipping finite Devatas, all those Devatas are none other than my own expression. Therefore, they are indirectly worshipping me only. Superficially, they are worshipping Indra, Varuna, Vinayaka, Surya, etc. Right? So, they are all borrowed powers, right? And through them, puja ultimately reaches me, the infinite God. So, this very famous shloka you must have heard. Akashat patitam toyam yatha gacchati sagaram sarvadeha namaskaraha keshavam pratigacchati. Right? As the water that falls down in the rain from anywhere in the sky finally reaches the ocean, the worship of any divine aspect ultimately reaches the Supreme Being. Right? A very, very famous shloka, which is actually a proof of oneness of the God, right? So, just as the rivers join the ocean, all these deity worship will go to me only, right? Similarly, who gives the phalam for the puja? Superficially seeing that deity is giving the phalam. Lord Krishna says, really speaking, that phalam also superficially comes from that deity, but ultimately it is I who is giving the phalam, right? So I have given power to him. With that power, Surya Devata is blessing the Bhakta. Therefore, ultimately, it is I who is the Karma Phala Data. I receive the puja through various deities. I give the phalam also through various deities. Ultimately, I am the total. So Lord Krishna says, when a Sakama Bhakta is worshipping Surya Devata, that Devata being a finite deity, that Devata can give only a finite result because he is given only that much of power, right? So Krishna says, through these deities, they can worship me directly. The intelligent one is what? The one who is directly praying to the infinite Krishna, infinite God, right? So, now the important thing is, very, very important aspect is, even through these deities, who are the individual deities, we can pray for moksha. Why? Because through this deity, ultimately, this request or this prayer is also going to go to the infinite deity only, right? Only thing is, your sankalpa has to be right, right? So, if Krishna himself says, if you pray to Surya Devata and ask for eyesight, eye power, then I can only give you that much through that Devata, right? So it depends on the application, right? If I want moksha, then I can ask the deity, I want moksha, and we can send that application to Bhagavan, and Bhagavan will certainly give moksha also through whom? Through that deity. Thus, every deity, very important point, can be used for twofold purposes. As a Sakama Bhakta, I can worship Surya Bhagavan and ask for better eye power, or I can worship Surya and ask for moksha also. So Lord Krishna says, thus even though any deity can be worshipped and one can get moksha, the problem is what? People don't know. They worship Ganesha and ask for a small result instead of asking for the big result. They can worship Varuna and ask for the infinite, right? So they ask, in my house, borewell water should come, right? You can ask for a small boon like this, or you can ask for moksha also. Thus, you can worship any deity as Sakama Bhakta or as Nishkama Bhakta, but the problem is people don't know this fact. There's so much of misconception about finite gods, so many gods in Hinduism, etc. Right? So they worship various deities and ask for finite results only. So here in this shloka, he says, Anya devataha bhaktaha. Sakama bhaktas worshipping finite deities, Shraddhaya anvitaha, with Shraddha and Bhakti, right? Here Anya devata bhaktaha means Indra, Varuna, Vinayaka, who are all in charge of as I gave you the example, various cabinet ministries, right? They are in charge of a particular department only. Yajante Shraddhaya Anvitaha. They worship those deities, even Navagraha, right? Each one has a finite power capable of giving the finite benefit, right? Yajante Shraddhaya Anvitaha. With Shraddha they pray, they worship various deities, and when they worship through these deities, the worship comes to me only. All those Sakama Bhakta finite deities, Mameva Yajanti, they are worshipping me only through them, right? Therefore, they can ask for moksha, which is possible, or they can ask for finite results, right? But the Devata himself cannot give moksha. If moksha is what we want, the Devata will pass on to the original and the infinite Bhagavan who will give moksha, right? So, Bhagavan can give moksha when provided the conditions for moksha are fulfilled. Karma yoga, upasana yoga, attending class, right? Gaining knowledge, etc. Right? That we have to remember. So Anjaneya Bhakta will also get moksha, Surya Bhakta will also get moksha, and God promises that I will provide the conditions required. Te api mam eva yajanti. They pray to me, but problem is what? Even though I am ready to give moksha, they are not ready to ask for it. Therefore, Lord Krishna says, avidhi purvakam yajanti. Here the word avidhi means ajnanam, right? Ignorantly they worship, right? They know that they cannot, they are not aware, right? They don't know. They're ignorant of the fact that they can get moksha through worship. Because of that, they use the puja for lower benefit. Like Swamiji says, using Ganga, right, for washing the room or washing the clothes, right, instead of using it for spiritual purposes, right. Similarly, any bhakti can be used for moksha also or for finite benefit also, right. Here these ignorant people use it for perishable end. Continuing. Aham hi sarvayajnanam Aham hi sarvayajnanam Bhokta cha prabhureva cha Bhokta cha prabhureva cha Natu mam abhijananti Natu mam abhijananti Tattvinatascha te Tatvenatascha te. Sorry, there's a correction. It's Tatvenatascha te. Therefore, the secret is there are many deities in Hinduism, but that does not mean many gods are there. Many deities represent various finite expressions of one infinite deity. Therefore, all finite deities are limbs of one Ishvara, right? So, you can worship any deity. So, very important point, once you come to the study of Advaita and Gita, we should never compare Shiva worship with Vishnu worship, Devi worship and say, this is better than that or that is better than this, and say, you should not go to this temple, you should not go to that temple. No. We must raise above that. We can always have a Ishta Devata because we are attached to a particular Devata. Ekarupa Devata, when you are attached, you will be attached to one Ishta Devata. That is fine. But slowly we have to move to Vishwarupa and then Arupa. But within gods, we should not fight. Within deities, now we are informed, so we should use the word deities, right? God is one Ishvara, right? So, Lord Krishna says, you need not change the deity. Any deity represents that one infinite God. Therefore, he says, Aham hi. I, the infinite Lord alone, am Bhokta. Bhokta means the receiver of all the pujas, whether they are done to Vinayaka or Rama or Krishna, Shiva or Devi, right? The infinite God is the receiver of the puja. Not only that, Prabhu Revacha, I am the ultimate Karma Phaladata also. I alone give the result, but how I give the result is through whichever deity I receive the puja. Through that channel I give, right? So, For Ayyappa Bhakta, I will communicate through Ayyappa. Right? In Kali Yuga, people say Balaji alone is the Pratyaksha Devata, etc. Right? So Tirupati Balaji is very famous for that reason. So the infinite Ishvara will give the phalam through that Balaji. Right? So any form is fine. I will give the result through that particular Devata. Right? Because the infinite Lord does not have any boundary or form. He is formless, limitless, right? So in Vishnu Sahasranamam, if you see, I think I've mentioned this even earlier, Shantakaram Bhujagasayanam Padmanabham Suresham. All these are form with forms deities, right? It is given for the sake of puja. But the real form of the Lord is there in the same shloka in the second line. That's the beauty of our shlokas and our shastras. Vishwadharam Gagana Sadrisham Meghavarnam Shubhangam. So let's take Vishwadharam and Gagana Sadrisham, the Adhara, the support for the entire world, and similar to Gaganam, Akasha. So infinite Lord is formless, intelligent, principle. Therefore, I am the formless Bhagavan and I am the Karma Paladata also. Prabhuhu means giver of the result, right? Then Natu Mam Abhijananti, right? Now, people do not know that I can give, through Nishkama Bhakti, I can give infinite results as well, right? They don't understand the formless me who is behind the deity who has forms, right? Mamana Abhijananti, they don't understand. That is why there are religious quarrels saying this God is great, that God is great, etc., right? Now Lord Krishna says, Mamana Abhijananti. There are people called Krishna consciousness people. They claim that Krishna alone is the real God. Shiva is not a God. And I have myself experienced that. I think I mentioned that somebody came home and they saw my puja room. I have never invited that particular, he is very saintly in appearance. I've never invited him into the puja room, but suddenly that day he gave me some prasad, so I opened the puja room to keep the prasad, and he saw that I had Shiva and other deities are in the room. I am a Smartha, I have all deities in this puja room. He was very upset and he told me that I have to remove all those deities and Krishna is the only God, right? So this is what some of them speak and they are very vehement about it. And in fact, I found this interesting thing. I believe Swami Chinmayananda built a Gurukulam, right? Sandeepini Sadhanalaya in Mumbai. It is still very much there. He had actually dedicated his life for teaching and propagating, right? Gita. So whatever donations came through that, and he built that ashrama, and in the ashrama he built a temple. You can see it even today, which is the Shiva temple, right? So Lord Shiva as Dakshinamurti there, right? Sadashiva Samarambha. So the Krishna consciousness people, they say Swami Chinmayananda taught Gita all over and raised Guru Dakshinamani through Gita teaching and built a temple for Lord Shiva. So he has deceived Krishna. So Krishna will punish Chinmayananda, right? So Lord Krishna or Shiva, it doesn't matter, right? All of them in Sandeepani Vidyalaya, they study the Gita, they study the Upanishads, etc., right? So here Lord Krishna says, I am infinite, right? I am the infinite, all-pervading, formless Brahman, right? So Lord Krishna says, I am not to be taken as Lord Krishna with the limited form, right? That form is for the sake of worship. They don't understand that. That is the problem. Says Natu Mam Abhijananti. They don't understand the formless me. Tattvena, right? The formless me is the real me. Forms are Maya, Vesham, right? Forms belong to Apara Prakriti. And I am the formless Brahman. Chavantite, they fall from what? From the opportunity to gain moksha. They fall means they spiritually fall, right? Chavanti, they will fall. Continuing. Yanti deva vrata devan, yanti deva vrata devan, pitrunyanti pitrivrataha, pitrunyanti pitrivrataha, Bhutani yanti bhutejyaha. Bhutani yanti bhutejyaha. Yanti madhyajinopi mam. Yanti madhyajinopi mam. Right? So these are some of the secrets of Hinduism. Therefore, you can worship that one Lord in any form, in the form of Devata that you like, right? That is why you choose your own Ishta Devata. You can choose any form you like. It can be a Deva, it can be a Pitru Devata, or it can be any one of the Bhuta Ganas associated with the Lord also. Mahaganapati is supposed to be the head of Bhuta Ganas of Lord Shiva. That is why he is called Gana, we refer to him and we say Ganadipate Namaha, right? Gananam Tvam Ganapatim Havamahe. The word Ganapati represents Bhuta Ganaha, right? Ganas Adipati, right? So Bhuta means deities, right? Shiva has got Bhuta Gana, the Lord, the leader of Bhuta Gana is Ganapati, right? He is one of the Bhuta Devatas only. You can worship him, or you can worship Indra, Varuna, you can worship any Pitru Devata also, right? So for Shraddha, we actually pray to the Pitru Devata, right? And when we do Yajna, that puja can be Sakama Bhakti or Nishkama Bhakti. Through that particular Pitru, we can seek either this result or Sakama result, or it can be Moksha also. In fact, they need not be just the departed souls, right? It can be parents, it can be Guru, you can invoke the Lord in the Guru also. So Lord Krishna says, Deva Vrataha. Those people who are worshippers of various devatas like Indra, Varuna, etc. through Vedic rituals, they are called Deva Vrataha. Then the second group is called Pitru Vrataha. They are Pitru Devatas. They are all named in the Shastra as Agnishvatadin, right? One commentator, in fact, writes, and I think even in Shankaracharya's Bhashyam this is there, the names of these devatas, Pitru Devatas like Agnishvataha, Vairajaha, Garhapatya, Somapaha, Ekashringaha, Chaturvedaha, Kalaha, etc. Right? So they're all invoked, and when you do Nandi Shraddham, regular ceremonies like Tarpanam, Gaya Shraddham, etc. Right? And then you can achieve a finite result of Pitriloka also. It's a type of heaven, right? Or you can use it for moksha. Bhute Jyaha, in the second line, worshippers of the Sapta Mataraha, right? Devi also has various Bhutaganas, right? And there are 7 Matru Devatas for the Sapta Mataraha. Who are the Sapta Mataraha? Brahmi, Mateshwari, Kaumari, Vaishnavi, Varahi, Indrani, Chamundi, right? So all these people have 7 Bhutaganas, respective Bhutaganas. So Bhutejyaha is the worshippers of Sapta Mataraha. So when we worship any Devata, the worship can be Sakama or Nishkama Bhakti. So when we do Sakama Bhakti, we can ask only for finite results. You cannot pray to Lakshmi and then ask for Jnanam. You cannot go to Saraswati and ask for wealth. So when it is Sakama Bhakti, you can seek that particular result only, right? But at the same time, the same puja can be converted into Nishkama Bhakti. So you invoke the formless, all-pervading Lord who is present everywhere, including that particular deity, right? So in Ganapati also, Ananta Ishvara is there, right? Even if it is Rahu Ketu, you can invoke the infinite Devata in it, right? So in Sri Ganapati Atharva Shirsha Upanishad, we invoke Ganapati as the all-pervading Brahman, right? Tatu Tvam Asi, right? So when we invoke that, then we can get moksha also. So Lord Krishna says, Devavrataha, the Sakama Bhakta worshipping various devatas, Devan Yanti. They will go to various devatas and get those benefits. Pitruvrataha, worshippers of Pitru, they will go to those Pitru and they will get their finite material result. Bhutani Yanti Bhutejyaha, right? So, in fact, even there are black magic people who worship various dark forces and get corresponding powers also, right? Whereas Madhyajinaha, those who worship me, who is the infinite Lord, who is invoked in, in any particular form, right, as a Nishkama Bhaktaha. If you remember the 7th chapter, the Jignasu Bhakta, right, they are not Artha Bhaktas, they are not Artharthi Bhaktas, but they are Jignasu Bhakta. The primary benefit they will get is moksha, and as a byproduct, they will also get basic needs, right? So Bhagavan will provide, they will get moksha also, right? And Arjuna, you decide whether you want to be Sakama or Nishkama Bhakta. So basically here the first 3 sentences talk about Sakama Bhakti, and the fourth segment, the first 3 segments talk about Sakama Bhakti. The fourth segment represents Nishkama Bhakti, right? So Devavrata Devanyanti, Pitrunyanti Piturvrataha, Bhutani Yanti Bhutejyaha represents Sakama Bhakti, doing puja for a set of particular results. It may either be Ihaloka Phalam or Paraloka Phalam. That is, it can be worldly, this world results, or it can be Swargaloka, Pitriloka, etc. Right? So in the fourth segment, Matyajinaha is infinite, formless God. Right? Continuing, a very, very important and often quoted shloka. Patram pushpam phalam toyam. Patram pushpam phalam toyam. Yo me bhaktya prayachyati. Yo me bhaktya prayachyati. Tadaham bhaktyupahritam. Tadaham bhaktyupahritam. Ashnami prayatatmanah. Ashnami prayatatmanah. The significance must be very, very clear here, that in the case of Nishkama Puja, the rules are relaxed, and this message is very clearly presented here. Bhaktya prayachati means Nishkama Bhaktya prayachati. When the puja is meant for the universal well-being and inner spiritual growth, no materialistic motives are involved, then he can offer anything that is easily available. That puja can be done by a poor person, also a rich person, right? Anybody can do, because rules and regulations are relaxed, right? Therefore, Lord Krishna says, Patram, a leaf, Pushpam, a flower, right? And they are all in singular numbers. People need not even, they don't have to have any money. Especially in Navaratri season, flowers become extremely expensive, right? Not that you should deliberately reduce. If you can afford to do the puja properly, then we should buy proper samagri and do the puja, right? This shloka should not be abused. From tomorrow, we shouldn't say, oh, okay, I will just put only one flower, right? No, that is not right. So any shloka done with one intention can be always interpreted, right? So you should not use it in the wrong sense, right? Whenever there is Ramanavami, Vinayaka Chaturthi, we have to spend money, buy things, offer according to whatever we have to do, right? But here, Krishna is talking about Nishkama Bhakti, which is uniformly affordable by everybody, right? So it can be even one flower, it may be one pushpam, one leaf, or it can be one fruit, right? The smallest banana, right? Phalam or toyam. Toyam means if nothing is available, just a spoonful of water. Therefore, even a little water you offer me, prayachati, with bhaktya, with bhakti, right? What is most important is the attitude which determines the efficacy of the puja. Therefore, bhaktya prayachati, the bhavana determines the efficacy, right? Sakama or Nishkama Bhaktya. If it is Sakama Bhakti, Patram and Pushpam will not work. You should ask for this puja, what material I should use. Rules are important. But Nishkama Bhaktya, right? It is not Artha Bhakti, it is not Artharthi Bhakti, it is Jignasu Bhakti, right? Of the 7th chapter. One who offers, right? So that for whether it is Patram, Phalam or Toyam, a spiritual seeker, if he is offering this with devotion, Bhaktyupahritam, then it is okay. So that is why in the Puranas, very interesting, how Lord Krishna actually went to meet Vidura. Vidura's wife, she was so, when you see someone like Lord Krishna walking and ask for food, she gets completely unnerved, right? So she opens bananas, she peels them, and she throws away the banana and she keeps the banana skin and offers it to Lord Krishna, right? And Lord Krishna doesn't complain and he just starts consuming them. And then Vidura walks in at that moment and he sees that his wife is giving banana skin to Krishna and throwing away the banana itself, the fruit. And so Krishna actually signals Vidura saying, keep quiet, because she is in a trance, right? But then Vidura, of course, cannot hold himself back and he tells his wife, what is this? What are you offering, right? But this goes to show that Krishna is looking at real bhakti, right? And that is Nishkama bhakti, right? So again in Ramayanam, we see Shabari offering the tasted fruits, right? And Rama happily took them. And actually recently in Ramayana serial, I saw that and the disgust on Lakshmana's face, right? When Rama happily takes it and eats, right? Very interesting. So this is because all of them, all these are relevant for people who cannot, who are not able to afford, right? People who can afford to do a proper puja must do it, right? But what is most important is pure mind, right? So the one who is interested in moksha, he is no more endowed with attachment for finite things. So this is called purity, right? Raga abhavaha or vairagyam, or in Tattva Bodha language, Nitya Nitya Vastu Vivekaha. We studied about that, right? Dispassion, right? So, Prayataha, Prayatatmanaha means with a pure Atma, means mind that I receive. Not only I receive, I will give the full result also in the form of Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampatti. Does it ring a bell? We saw that in Tattva Bodha, right? Viveka, Vairagya, right? Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti and Mumukshutvam. And of course, Guru Prapti or Shravana Prapti, Jnana Prapti, Moksha Prapti, all in order, right? All this will come as part of Nishkama Bhakti Phalam. Ashnami here means I accept, I will bless him, right? Thus, this is a very, very important shloka defining Nishkama Bhakti, right? Extremely important shloka, right? Continuing. Yatkaroshi yadashnasi, Yatkaroshi yadashnasi, Yajjuhoshi dadasi yat, Yajjuhoshi dadasi yat, Yattapasya, Yattapasyasi kaunteya, Yattapasyasi kaunteya, Tatkurushva madarpanam, Tatkurushvamadarpanam. This is also a very, very important shloka, equally important shloka defining Nishkama Bhakti. Right? Both verses 26 and 27 are very important shlokas defining Nishkama Bhakti. And Nishkama Bhakti is not different from Karma Yoga that we saw in the 3rd chapter, where Lord Krishna defined Karma Yoga also in the same manner. In verse number 30. Does this ring a bell? Mai sarvani karmani sanyasyadhyatma chetasa nirashir nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva vigatajvaraha. There also Lord Krishna defined Karma Yoga in the same pattern. Here in the 9th chapter, Lord Krishna defines Nishkama Bhakti in the same pattern. So, joining these two shlokas, what can we infer? There is no difference between Karma Yoga and Nishkama Bhakti, right? So, between the 26th verse and 27th verse, what is the difference? In the previous shloka, Lord Krishna is talking about a specific puja being done in a particular place exclusively, that also can be Nishkama Bhakti, invoking our Ishtadevata. Even daily puja I can do by offering and also seeking from the Lord Chitta Shuddhi and Moksha. Thus, an exclusive puja as Nishkama Bhakti is the content of the 26th shloka. Whereas in the 27th shloka, Lord Krishna says, you can convert your very life into Nishkama Bhakti and Karma Yoga, right? So, which is famously talked about in a work that we saw, right? In Shivamanasa Puja also we saw that. Now, this is also, in English, we normally talk about this as work itself is worship, right? And in Shivamanasa Puja, what did we see? Yat yat karma karomi tat 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 takilam. We said that, right? So this is in Shivamanasa Puja in the last verse, right? So we saw that whatever yad karma karomi tadakilam shambho tavaradanam. It is your aradhanam. Whatever I do, whatever I speak, whatever I think, all of that is your aradhanam, right? So the previous puja is exclusive puja done at a particular time, and Krishna here says that puja is also important, right? We have to allocate time, basically like Panchayatana puja or daily morning prayer rituals, Nitya puja, right? But rules are not as important in Nishkama puja, right? That Nitya puja was talked about in the previous shloka. And here Lord Krishna says, thereafter, whatever you are doing, even the daily chores, can be converted into Ishvara Aradhanam, right? From brushing the teeth, right? There is a prayer, right? Prajnam Vidyam Dehi Vanaspate, right? We say that, right? Daily brushing can be converted into Nishkama Puja. Daily Snanam, right? Bhagavan is Aradayami. Therefore, actually in Shivamanasa Puja, there is a verse which is there before the normal verse Ratne Kalpita that we chant, which I did not include in the chanting. I thought it relevant to include it. The verses there in the next slide. It goes like this: Aradayami mani sanniba matmalingam Mayapuri Hridaya Pankaja Sannivishtam Shraddhanadi Vimala Chitta Jalabhishekaihi Nityam Samadhi Kusumaira Punarbhavaya. So basically, Aradayami Mani Sannibam Atmalingam, right? So I worship that lingam which is in me as my soul, residing in the illusory lotus of my heart, getting bathed by the clear water of the river of my devotion, and worshipped daily by the lotus or flower of my meditation, and this is for avoiding another birth. And then Ratne Kalpita starts. So I've given you this verse in the next slide. Those of you who want to chant this before the Shivamanasa Puja can learn this by heart, right? So Lord is in our hearts. So thereafter daily snanam itself, therefore we can convert the daily snanam itself into Nitya Abhishekam, right? And whatever food you are eating, right? Imagine Lord Krishna will tell this in the 15th chapter. Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Deham Ashritah Pranapana Samayuktah Pachamyannam Chaturvidam. The digestive fire called Vaishvanara Agni in the stomach, right? So whatever you put in, it is also considered as an offering into the Agni, right? Into the Vaishvanara Agni in the stomach, right? So whatever you are eating is also Brahmane Swaha, Pranaya Swaha, right? So thus we see eating also as Karma Yoga, Snanam as Karma Yoga, brushing as Karma Yoga, brushing teeth. So Lord Krishna says you can convert everything into Karma Yoga. You are going into office, you are working, right? Whether there is recognition by your supervisor or not, right? Often you don't get that also, right? Sometimes you feel very upset that recognition has not come at the appropriate time. But you don't feel this when you are committing all this to Bhagavan and enjoying the process of working itself rather than looking at the result, right? So Lord Krishna says whether you get increment or promotion, that I cannot guarantee. But for your attitude, you are growing inwardly and spiritually. Now, if you're not satisfied with the job, you can certainly look for another job. But until you get another job, whatever job you are, you must do it with sincerity, right? Thus, what happens is the quality of work will improve. And when the quality improves, the karta is more satisfied. So, this is called karma anandaha, karmanandaha. So when I derive karmananda, karma phalam comes or not. When I derive karmananda, right, the karma phalam itself will not be such a big issue. You see, good musicians enjoy their music, whether they get claps or not. In weddings, you see, sometimes I feel very bad. The musicians are singing and there is nobody in the audience sitting and listening to them. But they are enjoying on their own, right? The very process of singing. So similarly, good teachers enjoy the very teaching itself, right? So the very action gives me joy, right? So karmananda is definite and it doesn't depend on karma phala ananda because karma phalam is unpredictable. Therefore, enjoy your actions by dedicating to the Lord. So there will be excellence in the actions. A job well done gives me an ananda which can't be derived by any other thing. So Swami Chinmayananda, I believe, used to say everything, even simply wiping the table, one can be careful so that we don't leave leftovers on the table, right? Similarly, Swami Chinmayananda used to say while pasting the stamp on the cover, right? Instead of using, the tongue and pasting it all over in a very dirty and clumsy manner, even that can be done neatly, right? And I believe Swamiji used to paste all the covers himself and fix the stamps himself, right? So there must be excellence in anything that one does, right? So Krishna tells, Yat karoshi, whatever you do, it may be a daily chore which you may consider boring, right? Never make it boring, right? You must get inspired in your daily duty on your own. It is an attitude, self-inspiration, self-motivation. Therefore, Yat karoshi refers to worldly activities. Then sacred activities are indicated by Yat juhoshi, means whatever you offer to the Lord as an oblation in home or as an offering in a puja, right? Yat juhoshi. Karoshi is Laukika karma, Juhoshi is Shastriya karma. Yadashnasi, whatever you are consuming as your food, food is always offered to Lord in our tradition, right? So therefore, that's why they used to make food, on a daily basis and also worship Agni Devata when the cooking is done and fresh offering will be done as Nevedyam. So they used to never keep it in the fridge and use it. Today we are not able to follow some of these things, right? Because every day when you make rice, that rice and dal used to be kept after the Nevedyam. We used to go and keep it for the crow and they come and eat. So we used to feed the crows also. Right? We try and do these things, at least in India, to the extent possible. We must try and keep up some of these traditions, right? So, Yadashnasi, whatever you are cooking and whatever you are eating, before eating, you offer to the Lord. If there is no deity, even Manasika you can offer and you can move on, right? So you can just close your eyes and say Annapurne, Sadapurne, Shankara Prana Vallabe, Jnana Vairagya Siddhyartham, Bhiksham Dehi cha Parvati, or Eko Vishnur Mahadbhutam, Pritakbhutani Anekashaha. The single Almighty, all embracing Vishnu manifests himself into an infinite number of individual objects, and that one Bhagavan alone is consuming all the food remaining in the body of every living being. This is a very wonderful shloka, right? So even if we don't know the shloka, just utter the name of Lord Rama Rama, Govinda Govinda, Krishna Krishna, etc. Right? And we are not supposed to talk when we are eating, right? And with concentration and with reverence, we are supposed to eat. No TV, etc. Right? Because it is also called, it's a sacred, yajna, pranagni in the Shastram. Eating is called pranagni, right? So, therefore, yadashnasi, yadjuhoshi, yaddadasi, whatever you give in charity, never do it with arrogance, but do it with humility. I've got an opportunity to worship the Lord who is present, right, in the receiver. Therefore, I don't look down upon the receiver. I see him as Bhagavan himself, right? And we've got many stories where Bhagavan himself comes to test the bhakta. So we have that attitude while we do the charity. Therefore, dadasi, may you do with a reverential attitude. Yet tapasyasi, whatever spiritual discipline you follow, you are supposed to, whatever you are supposed to follow, you follow, like Shivaratri, Upavasanam, right? Ratri Jagarana, willful denial of certain comforts and certain things which we regularly make use of. Willfully deny, say no to food, willfully say no to coffee, right? Few things you do, right, on particular days. Slowly you can establish mastery over those organs, right, and my raga dvesha. So this is called tapas, right? In tapas, there must be some discomfort and we must put up with it and not complain and you accept it fully, right? All such austerities you do and tad madarpanam kurushva. Will you dedicate that to the Lord exclusively for spiritual growth? At least there must be some puja for spiritual growth. You may do so many sakama pujas for the family if you want, but there must be very, at least few shlokas, focused ones, which are for spiritual growth. Okay? Very important shlokas, these two. So this is the Shiva Manasa Puja shloka, which you can see later. Okay, I think if I start the next verse, I won't be able to complete. So I will stop here and I will do this in the next class. Verse 28 I will do in the next class. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let me just check if there are any questions. Yeah. Gayatri, do you have a question? I can see your hand raised. Maybe that was by mistake. Gayatri? Okay, that was a mistake. Anybody else? Oh, it's again come up. Yes, Gayatri. Okay, I think there are no other hands up here. And no questions also. Okay. So Hari Om, we'll meet next week, same time, 26th. Thank you.